stories, symbolism, philosophies, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and the Puranas. And I particularly like the small reel you created on Kala, using the example of the ring from Ramayana. Brilliant. I had never heard it. I don't know how many of you had heard it before. He has performed in various places around the world. He's conducted research. He's very well known. He believes that stories are worlds in themselves containing nuggets of wisdom. And I think that's best experienced when Vinay tells a story. So on that note, I'd like to welcome Vinay on stage. So Vinay has a request. It's an interesting request, and I'm pretty sure you will say yes, but let me still ask, is it okay if he goes about 10 minutes extra? You got your answer, Vinay.
That was not a very convincing yes, so I'll wait it out. Sabha Samudram Shirasa Namami. Namaskaram to all of you. Is this audible all the way up to the back? Yes. So, when Neelana reached out and said that we are celebrating Vasanta, very organically this conversation happened, saying, let's look at the idea of time and what it represents and what are the Suchanas, what are some messages around time that Puranas and Itihasas have. Now, this is a topic that does not have a head or a tail. So I had a tough time thinking about what would emerge. And it is quite interesting if you just take that single word, Kala. I will not call it time anymore. I would prefer to call it the name that our rishis have given it, which is Kala. So as you would all well be aware, every aspect of our life, as per Sanatana Dharma, is governed by a certain Devata. Who is the Devata who is responsible for time? If we knew there were quiz questions, we would not have bought a ticket. Okay, Shiva, sure. Mahakaleshwar, sure. But I'm not even talking at the level of Parabrahma, of the Trinity, of the trio of Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. At the more Yama, absolutely. Yama, whose name brings up fear and whose name causes all of us to sit up in alert attention, is the Lord of Kala. Interestingly, Yama is to be worshipped on Shanivaram because this day is very special for him. So I thought it was just appropriate that today we look at what is Yama's role in our world. Because for us, Yama is fear. In fact, there was a Telugu cinema a couple of years ago where they decided to have a humorous take on Yama, and there they, of course, put all the Puranas into the locker, and then they said Yama has to have a wife in this movie. So what shall we call Yama's wife? And you know what they named her? They named her Ayyo. You know why? Because wherever Yama goes, everybody says Ayyo. That was the reasoning. And while this may tickle our funny bones, essentially what it does is it dumbs down our understanding of a Devata. Yama is not a Devata who comes just standing with a buffalo at the door saying, time aitappa, yavaga battenino. Yama is a Devata who represents Dharma. Niyamo Yamaha, we are reading it in the Vishnu Sahasranamam. Is an aspect of Kala. It is Vishnu who ordains him or Shiva who ordains him with that responsibility of taking a jiva out of a body when the time is up. But how do we look at that character and how do we understand this character, and also what is this concept of Kalam teach us? So we look at two stories today, time permitting. Both these stories giving Yama a very, very interesting role and also talking about Kala. Yama on one hand is Kaladhyaksha, he's the one who controls time. He also controls Dharma. That is why Dharmaraja is named after him. So looking at this aspect and time leading us to our biggest fear, because while we may celebrate the upcoming year on 9th, on Ugadi day, when we're all looking very excitedly for Panchanga Shravanam, everybody wants to hear what are the Rashi Phalas for the year ahead. And in that, if somebody says, oh, for this particular zodiac, it's a very dangerous time, that's it, everybody's on alert. So time, which is fundamentally a concept which is used for sadhana, as Vishnath Anna so beautifully said, has been a concept that we have taken towards just alleviating our fear. But Kalam is much more than that. Kalam is an opportunity. And that is what both these stories present to us. So the first one, actually both these are very well-known stories, but my objective is to take us to the lesser-known aspects of the well-known stories. So the first story finds a mention in the Mahabharata. This story is not about the Pandavas itself. It is a story about a woman with a great resolve, with a woman who actually defies a lot of social norms. This woman chooses her own husband in a time when most fathers of the brides would choose. She takes it upon herself. She tells her father that I want to go and I want to survey the entire country and I will find somebody worthy of marrying me. And sure enough, she comes back to her father and she says, I found an able man who I want to marry. Who am I talking about? This is Savitri. When Savitri comes back to her father and she says this, when she tells Ashwapati that I want to get married to this certain Satyavanan who I have found, Satyavanan's father at that time has been exiled and Satyavanan is in the forest. So immediately what happens after this is Narada is at this point. He's there in the Sabha at that point and he hears this and he says, he tells Ashwapati, your daughter's Sankalpam is very strong. Sankalpam, her resolve is extremely strong, but there is an issue. Satyavanan, from the day of his marriage, he has 1 year to live. Savitri is least deterred. What is interesting is this information is only known to 3 people, Narada Muni, Ashwapati, and Ashwapati's daughter Savitri. No announcement of this is made anywhere else. She says, what is it? The worry is about how long he'll live. No, that's my problem after I marry him. Why is anybody else worried? Her father tries in great vain. He tries in desperation to convince her. She's not convinced. She gets married. She moves to the forest because that's where Satyavanan lives with his parents. Savitri is the only one keeping track of time. She is the only one aware that there is a great danger that is imminent upon her husband's life. So sure enough, 3 days prior to the day. Now the day has different mentions. This is a very beautiful aspect of Sanatana Dharma, that when we look at certain incidents, often we try to map it to this particular aspect. But you will see the same incident coming differently in different characters because time is cyclic. It's not necessary that this happened on one specific day alone. So one version says, as many of you know, there is a Nombu that is performed in Tamil Nadu, which is believed to be the day that Savitri's husband was facing that difficulty. But keeping aside the technical details of when this happened, what's very interesting is she counts 3 days before and she tells her in-laws. Her father-in-law cannot even see. So she tells her father-in-law and her mother-in-law, I'm beginning a certain tapasya. I'm not going to eat for the next 3 days. One by one, I will leave things. So I want you to cooperate with me so that my entire tapasya is fruitful. Her mother-in-law asks her, what are you doing? What is this tapas? She says, I'm doing a vratam. Interestingly, the Mahabharatam does not tell you what vratam it is. It does not tell you. The same Mahabharatam that will detail out Vinayak Chaturthi vratam, Ananta Padmanabha vratam with when do you do it, how do you do it, what is the methodology, does not say anything. 2 words, Jagan Mata vratam. It gives you, that's it. She decides she is going to look at the goddess of all fortune, the mother of the universe, and to that goddess she will do a vratam. She takes it upon herself. The day arrives. Satyavanan has to go to the forest to cut some wood. So she says, I'll accompany you. She goes with him, and after some time, Satyavanan says, my head is feeling giddy. I think I want to lie down. She says, come and lie down on my lap. And she puts his head onto her lap. In a few seconds, Yama appears. Here is when the rahasyams begin. Yama's arrival cannot be seen by ordinary mortals, contrary to popular belief. When Yama arrives, only a Dharmatma can see Dharmaraja. The story is already telling you that somebody is steeped so much in her dharma that she has Divya Drishti. She can see what ordinary people cannot. When she sees Yama, she does not panic. The Lord of all Kala himself is here and he does a namaskaram to her saying, Amma, leave your husband's body aside because his time has come. She does not say anything. I am particularly narrating this story today because Savitri's story is told as a story of a trickster, somebody who tricked Yamadharmaraja. You cannot trick time. If you could trick time, none of us would be facing karma phalas today as we are. Because you can fool the entire world around you, but you cannot fool the Lord of time and his accountant, Yamaya Dharmarajaya. That Dharmaraja knows what dharma and adharma is happening. So, when he appears, he does a namaskaram to Savitri. She returns that namaskaram and he says, Amma, please carry on. You accompanied him till this point, but from this point onwards, I have to take him and go. She doesn't say a thing. Yama releases the pasham, the noose with which holds us, the noose that holds us. This pasham is a huge topic of discussion, but in the interest of the story, he releases that pasham and takes Satyavanan's Karana Sharira out of him. It's literally Angushta Pramanam. It's literally the size of a thumb. He takes that Shariram, leaving the physical body, and he goes. When he goes, she walks behind. Savitri is not at all fretted. No part of her is wondering, oh my goodness, my husband is going. What can I quickly do? She's just following silently. After some point, Yama looks at her and he says, why are you coming? There is absolutely no space for you in Patala Lokam. Patala is different from Naraka. Again, when we translate, we tend to lose these things. Both these are translated as hell. Naraka is the space that one is sent to for repayment of Papa Karma. Patala is the nether world which is ruled by Yama. They are two very different things. He says, I have to take the Jiva there. I have to protect Satyavanan's Jiva there before placing him into another body. She said, okay, do your work. What am I saying? I'm just saying I'll come. He says, how can you come? There is no space in Patalam. Anybody cannot enter. She said, you are honoring your dharma. Your dharma is that you will come and you will take a punya jivi. My husband is a punya jivi. You will come and you will follow your dharma and you will take my husband with you to Patala Loka. I also have my dharma. He smiles and he says, what is your dharma? Sahadharmachari. I am his Sahadharmachari. Wherever he goes, I promised that I will go. I made that promise of my own free will. So now when he's going there, I want to go as well. Yama smiles and he said, you spoke about dharma. Tell me about dharma. Yama asks Savitri, what are the nuances of dharma? And she says, to me, dharma is living with grace, with dignity, and following a commitment that I made. That is sankalpa. The idea that I made that commitment fully well aware of what time has in store for me. So I am not asking you to reverse your decision. This is the beautiful aspect. She does not ask Yama at any point saying, Yama, please do this for me. Yama is so moved that after they walk ahead a little while, the whole time Savitri is talking to him about various aspects of dharma, and he turns around and he says, barring your husband's life, ask me for anything. The first thing she asks is, give my father-in-law's eyesight back to him, give his kingdom back to him. Said, Tathastu, it's done. You can go back. You will see that they will be packing the hermitage and chariots will be coming to take your father-in-law who was banished from the kingdom right back. She smiles and she continues. Again, she starts talking about dharma and she says, Yamadharmaraja, for me to be able to see you, what punyam have I done? She asks him back. This is gratitude. Instead of flinching when all of the idea, the epitome of death is standing in front of you, she's looking at him in the eye and she's saying, what have I done? And he smiles. This part appears in a regional variant where he smiles and he says, I rule time, but there is one who rules me and her name is Mahakali. I am Kaladi Devata, she is Mahakali. Time is relative. As Anna was explaining, there are 5 different systems of calculating time. Sauramana, Chandramana, Barahaspatямana, Nakshatramana. All of these are relative to which place we are in. You will know this confusion on any odd Ekadashi day you go. There will be so much confusion. Ivatta, Nade, Ninne, last week, when was Ekadashi? This time is Maha relative to us. But there is one person who is watching all this time and time is in her hands. That is why she holds something called the Kala Pasham. And he says, you did puja to her and because of her blessing, you're able to see me. So Savitri continues with him at this point. And at this point, Yama is now at the brink of Vaitarini. Vaitarini is a Nadi. No ordinary being is allowed to go past that Nadi because it's a point of no return. When they're at that point, he says, Savitri, talking to you about the nuances of dharma has been such a satisfying experience for me. Ask me for something else. She smiles and she says, many, many years ago, when I was born to my father, Savitri appeared from the Agnikunda, from the home Agnikunda. She said, at that time, my father, Ashwapati, he was actually doing a yajnam so that he would have a son who would take on his lineage. Then he got a surprise gift in the Agnikunda. It was me. He was very happy that I came. But he still longed for a son so that his kingdom should be taken care of. Give him that son. Yama says, I've given it to him. As a mere thought, he will very soon have a son. Now go back. She says, no, because my dharma is to stay with him. My dharma is enabling me to follow you up till this point with a shariram. So from here on, wherever you lead me, I will go. He says, I cannot lead you beyond here. She said, I cannot leave my husband beyond here. So then he smiles and he asks her saying, Savitri, do you want anything at all? She says, yes, I want to live in dharma. I want to live in dharma with my husband. And then he says, ask for anything at all. He removes the clause that he previously put 3 times. I didn't mention all the clauses, again, in the interest of time. But at the final point, he removes that one condition and he says, ask for anything. And she says, then with Satyavanan, may I be a mother to 100 children. Not let me become a mother and then Yama says, yo, I give off this offer, but what about this? No. She says, if you are pleased with my dharma. This idea of dharma is beautiful because when you look at time, time is a container that has extraordinary memory. That memory is so powerful that time will remember every single thing that you have ever done, and time will reward you for that. That is what is beautifully depicted here and also in the Ramayana. In the Ramayana, in Sundarakanda, again Saturday Anjaneya Swami will refuse not to make an appearance here. In Sundarakanda, when all of Lanka is burning, the Rakshasis go and tell Sita, you saw that Kapi came and talked to you in the morning. We asked you who is he. You didn't want to tell anybody. And now you know what's happening? Ravana is burning his tail. Sita is horrified because she says, he came for me. And then she does something extraordinary. She speaks to Kalam, she speaks to Dharmam. She says, she does not say, may Hanuman's tail be cool. She looks at her past. She looks at the time that she has invested being rooted in her dharma, doing her sadhana, and she says, she makes a very strong declaration. Yadimam vritta sampannam. If I have been true to my vows, tat samagama lalasam. And if I want to be with him, who is him? If I have been true to my vows in the past, and if I want to be with him, and the third clause, Savijanati dharmatma, if that dharmatma knows this, Shito bhava hanumataha, then may Hanuman's tail be cool. 4 times she repeats, not this shloka, but 4 different shlokas ending with Shito bhava hanumataha. All those shlokas talk about time. She says, if this has happened in the past, if my vratam is true, if I really love Rama, then let Hanuman's tail be cool. So here you see time as an index. You see time as a fulcrum. Time is a devata because time speaks to you. You can look at your past and say, if I have been true. But for that, the being true is important. When you're doing it, when Sita is following her dharmam, she does not do it saying, one day I will use this and get a cashback offer on all of this and say, because I did it properly. There is the difference between nishkapata bhakti, that you do it because you're in love with it. All the while that she is in dharmam, that dharmam will come and protect you in the moment when you need it. That is Savitri's katha, that is Sita's katha. That is the idea that is represented there. So when we look at time, we understand that time is fundamentally a system that has justice enabled within it. If you have been true to your values and to your ethics, time will remember. Whether anybody around you remembers or not, time will remember. Krishna says this in the Gita. Arjuna says, you're asking me to do sadhana. What if my life goes? What about all this sadhana? I said, why you're so worried? You come back, take another body. I will press the play button from now. When you go now, I'll put the pause button. When you come back in your next life, from where it ended, it will pick up there. Don't worry, because time remembers everything. That idea that time remembers everything, that forms the Sanatana Dharma understanding of time. That you use time to catch on to a greater moral value for yourself. And if you do that, something extraordinary will happen to you. That is the nature of time. If Savitri's katha gives a hint about that, another katha explains it in even more great detail. This katha has so much hidden inside it that it makes us think, okay, the version I knew is very different. This story also I can tell you in exactly 3 sentences. One rishi had a boon from Shiva. Either I give you a child with very few years of age who is extremely jnani, over, no? Then I don't have to tell you the story. I can only go home. But instead of just telling stories, let's look at what is hidden inside here. When Mrikandu Rishi is given this varam by Parameshwara, 2 choices. You want an Alpayush or you want a Dirghayush. What would anybody pick? You can say it, it's okay, Dirghayush. Anybody would want it. But what is the other caveat that he gives? If he is going to be Alpayush, he will be a Jnani. If he is Dirghayush, he will be an Ajnani. Poor Dhritarashtra, if only he had thought a little bit about this. He got so much time with his son. Pandu got time with his sons? No. But look at Pandu's, the charitram that they created for themselves versus the charitram that Dhritarashtra's children created for themselves. So in our obsession of wanting time with our loved ones, in that kind of a very tightly or a very selfish approach, here presents the Rishi's worldview of how do you look at time. So Mrikandu says, it's okay, let him be Alpayush, let him go. Shiva says, watch out, 16th year of his life, he will go. That day, he will have to go. No problem. You said he'll be a Jnani, no? That is my reassurance. The boy is born. Here starts the layering in the story. For us, the story ends, it starts here and we directly move to 16 years. But this is not a Hindi serial. Puranas will give you details to focus on what they want trying to tell you. The entire time that Mrikandu's son, because he is Mrikandu, his son is Markandeya. The entire time that this boy is at home, that entire time, rishis keep visiting Mrikandu's ashramam. And Mrikandu does something. He knows at the back of his head that this boy's time is limited. So what does he do? Whenever any other rishi comes to his house, he makes the boy do a Sashtanga Namaskaram to him. When somebody does a Sashtanga Namaskaram, typically you should say Dirghayushman Bhava. No rishi says it. Every rishi who comes is aware Parameshwara's Shasanam. This is Parameshwara's declaration and Parameshwara's rule that this boy is going to go. If I say Dirghayush, it will not happen. This is what we call in Sanskritam as Spruha. Spruha is the presence of mind. Sometimes we aren't thinking, we end up saying something. Sometimes no matter how much we think about it, we don't say it. That presence of mind is Saraswati. That presence of mind clicks all of their tongues. Not one rishi says it. Mrikandu is getting anxious. Not everyone is saying, may you be a Jnani, may you attain lots of fame, may you be at Parameshwara's Padapadmas, but not one is saying, may you be a Dirghayush. Then what happens? One fine day, the Saptarishis come. The Saptarishis along with Arundhati come. Again, Mrikandu is still following the same routine. Whatever happens, doesn't happen, he will make his boy do a Namaskaram. This is also a very, very beautiful marmam, a beautiful instance that talks about samskaram. When you ask your child, when you get your child into the habit of doing a Namaskaram, you are doing it to either a Vayovriddha, somebody who is elderly in age, or a Tapovriddha, somebody who has years of tapas behind them. When they say something knowingly or unknowingly, there is power in that speech. That power will protect your child. That is the intention behind getting your child to do a Namaskaram. So Mrikandu is carrying on with this. And when the Saptarishis arrive with Arundhati, he brings his child to do the same thing in Eka Kantham. In that moment, Narada has also come. Narada knows exactly where to come, when to come, and how to come. So he's arrived in this moment, and when Narada is watching, there's the reason he's here. Narada watches in Eka Kantham, in one voice, all the Saptarishis along with Arundhati, in Eka Kantham, they say Dirghayushman Bhava. Narada, Mrikandu is thrilled because this is what he wanted to hear. Narada laughs, and everybody looks at Narada. The Saptarishis look at Narada because that's not a happy laugh. Narada laughs and he says, aha. So the Saptarishis look at him and say, why are you laughing? He says, I'm laughing because for the first time in the history of this world, Vedavak is about to be proven wrong. Vedavak is the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth is about to be proven wrong. The Saptarishi say, what do you mean? He says, Vedavak says that if a rishi says something, if a Tapovriddha says something, it will come true. So, the Tapovriddhas have now said Markandeya will have Dirghayush. But Parameshwara has a different plan for Markandeya. Markandeya is supposed to go in a few days from now. So, now either the rishis are going to be proven wrong or Parameshwara is going to be proven wrong. If the rishis are proven wrong, the basis of Sanatana Dharma itself is wrong. So therefore, I'm laughing, thinking of all that's going to happen. Before he finished saying this, the Saptarishis vanished from the scene, taking Markandeya with them, and they go to Satyaloka. In Satyaloka, Brahmadeva gives darshanam to them, and he says, how is it that 7 of you have come here? He says, 7 of us have come here to protect the spirit of Veda. Veda says that whatever a rishi says has to come true. Now we unknowingly uttered that this boy is going to have a long life. This boy's time is not going to end in any time soon. But there is this caveat now. So what is he going to do? Brahma says, you leave the boy with me, you carry on. I know what to do. There he takes the boy and he instructs the boy saying, all of these people around you are so worried. How are you feeling? The boy says, I'm not worried. If my time has come, let it come. My father is unhappy. I don't want to go when my father is like that. Can you give my father peace of mind? Brahmadeva smiles and he says, the only way your father can have peace of mind is if you become a Dirghayushman Bhava. So therefore, I'm going to show you how to go beyond time. This is where the Rahasyam starts. How can I go beyond time? Asks this young innocent boy. Time is Kala. There is one who is ruling this, Mahakala. You know what he does to time? What does Shiva do to time? He eats time. The Rudram describes it so beautifully. It says that when Shiva at Mahapralaya Kalam, when Shiva is consuming the entire worlds, he takes the worlds as if he's taking curd rice. The Vedam does not say curd rice. I'm giving that example. Lest you say that take this in a completely different direction. He takes the main object of what he's eating, his main dish, his Vishwam. All of these universes go inside him. But along with that, just like a little bit of uppinkai on the side, he takes even mrityu and he consumes even mrityu. So, the one who you are about to worship, I'm going to instruct you into worshipping the one who is beyond time. So Markandeya smiles and he says, but to worship him, I have to use time only, no? And Brahma says, yes. That is the essence of Sanatana Dharma. The objective is to go beyond Kalatita Sthiti, to go beyond time where you are not worried about coming back into Samsara Chakra. But for that, you have to use time. So when he instructs him into and he initiates him into Parameshwara Upasana, then comes that moment. Markandeya takes the Panchakshari initiation from him and he goes and sits in deep tapas. When he is sitting in his dhyanam, his time has come to an end. Now here is the beautiful aspect. Why did Yama come? Yama again has come because a Dharmatma has to go. When a Dharmatma has to go, there is respect that is shown even by Devatas. They will not simply send a messenger, they will themselves come. So when Yama himself has come now, was Yama wrong to have come? Don't know what the correct answer is. This fellow will always say ulta only. Was Yama wrong to have come? Who sent Yama to come? Parameshwara. Parameshwara, when he made that declaration on the day before Markandeya's birth, at that time itself, Yama was appointed. The notification was sent to Yama saying, Nine hogbekappa. So Yama is following Parameshwara's dharma and he has come. Markandeya is deep in Shivaradhana. At that point, Yama says, come. Markandeya says, my worship is not over. Let me finish my worship, I'll come. Time and tide wait for none. So Yama says, I will not wait. And he releases the Pasham. What does Markandeya do? He hugs the lingam and he gives an extraordinary stotram. But this stotram is very confusing because Shiva is known to be the conqueror of death. What is that name that connects to him in that regard? Mrityunjaya, the one who has defeated death. So Markandeya should make a stotram to Mrityunjaya, but he does not. If you pay attention to the Puranas, Markandeya makes a stuti saying Chandrasekhara, Chandrasekhara, Chandrasekhara Pahimam, Chandrasekhara, Chandrasekhara, Chandrasekhara Rakshamam. He should be calling him as Mrityunjaya. But here he is saying, oh, one who has the moon on his head. Why is he talking about the jewel on his head? Here lies a very beautiful aspect of time. As Anna so beautifully explained, from Amavasya till Purnima, how many tithis are there? 15. Can we name them? Because it's a good opportunity to say those names because each of those tithis have devatas associated with them. So let's begin. Prathama, Dvitiya, Tritiya, Chaturthi, Ashtami, Navami, Dashami, Ekadashi, Dwadashi, Trayodashi, Chaturdashi, Purnima. Purnima / Amavasya, whichever way you're looking at. How many are there? 15. These 15 are the changing digits of the moon. These tithis are changing. The moon that Shiva has on his head is unchanging. When it is Purnima here, Shiva will not have a circle on his head. When it is Amavasya also he'll have it. Nothing will disappear over there. Because that is called as the Sada Kala. It is that Kala, Chanda Kala we say, the growing digits or the weaning digits of the moon are called as Kala. Those Kala Amshas are every day changing. As Anna said, between morning and now the tithi has changed. So all of these are changing. But this is eternal and unchanging. This is Parameshwara Tattvam. The one who is still, but the one who is causing time to change. That is represented by the entire system of our time is based on the moon. That moon is unchanging on his head. That is an indication over there. That indication, Markandeya knows. So he said, Chandrasekhara, O one who is not affected by time, I am trying to reach a space in which time does not bother me, but time is coming and pulling me away saying there's no more time to be with you. So take me out of this. That is why he says, Chandrasekhara, Chandrasekhara, Chandrasekhara Pahimam. And in that moment, Shiva appears. When Shiva appears, here lies a conflict. Because this Bhagavan gets himself always into very complicated situations. One time here, one time when another Rakshasa said, not inside, not outside, not this, not that, not that. You know what the common challenge in both these situations is? Think about it. Puranas are giving you something very beautiful to think about. Both these instances give Bhagavan an extremely complicated challenge. The Bhakta who has to be blessed is there. The Bhakta who has to be taught a lesson is also there. Shikshana and Rakshana both have to happen at the same time. When he's in Ram Avataram, no problem. Shabari, Guha, Jatayu, all of them very different. When he's killing Ravana, that Mahadhira, Mahadheya is in a very different mood. Krishna, very different time when he has to come to Kubja or to be with Yashoda. And when he's killing or when he's advising the Pandavas on how to kill Jarasandha and all, It's a very different context. But here, Prahalada is in front of him, Hiranyakashipu is in front of him. If he looks gently at Prahalada, Hiranyakashipu will say, this fellow is going to kill me here. But if he becomes fierce, it will scare Prahalada. That is one context. And here, when he has appeared, Markandeya is here on one hand and Yama is here. Markandeya has to be blessed. Yama has to be taught a lesson. Why should Yama be taught a lesson? Yama came because he was told to come. Just imagine the situation of a clerk in an office who was told, you come at 12 o'clock and you come and switch off the lights and lock the room and go. That's what the boss tells him. Then this guy goes, Papa, at 12 o'clock. Then he goes inside, he sees the boss is done. The boss says, I'll kick you if you try anything. Get out. Poor Yama, no? No. This is where we start to understand Karma Siddhanta. When Markandeya is worshipping Shiva with such devotion and such nishkapata bhakti, Markandeya did not ask saying, make me a Chiranjeevi. Markandeya is just lost in Shiva and he tells Yama, I'll come. Just let me finish my Aradhana. When you do that, whatever karma is in store for you because of what you did, that karma becomes nullified when you are in a state of love with Paramatma. Whatever you did in the past, Markandeya has his own karma. There is a host of a backstory that he has. But that karma is not important. And that karma he will erase saying, wait, you called out to me with love. And now I am duty bound to protect you. This is exactly what Vedam is saying. So, when now Shiva immediately emerges from this, he looks at Markandeya with great love and he uses his left leg to kick Yama. Why left leg? Because Vama Bhagam is always Shakti. It is Devi who says, Kalam, I appointed you to do this. But he has gone in a state where none of this bothers him anymore. So therefore, he has used Kalam most effectively. Therefore, Kalam cannot hurt him anymore. And as a sign of that, I am pushing you back. So therefore, he kicks him and picks up Markandeya. And Markandeya therefore becomes a Chiranjeevi. This idea Vedam talks about. Markandeya's story comes in the Puranas. But Vedam talks about this and says, Adhyavochadadhivakta prathamo daivyo bhishak. When all kinds of forces are coming at me, not because forces are cruel and they have nothing better to say than say, hey, let's look at this fellow. No, everything that's coming to us, including this terrible summer, is just the result of our own past deeds. Global warming is not something that Shiva angrily threw at us from Kailasa. It's our lack of respect for Bhumi Devi that's now manifesting in front of us. So, when all of this is happening, Shiva, Veda is saying this, when all of this is happening, when my past karmas are coming because of what I did in the past, when they are coming to attack me, at that moment, I want you to be the first spokesperson. Prathamo Daivyo Bhishak. You speak on my behalf. Why? Because I came and said that I am in deep love and deep devotion towards you. And you yourself said in the Vedas that if somebody loves me with all their heart, then I will protect them. So to honor your own word, why don't you now come and protect me? This is how Veda also tricks Parameshwara. But this is the idea that time and bhakti are so beautifully intertwined that the Lalita Sahasranam has a beautiful word for it, bhakti vashya. You can capture him with bhakti and say, got you. Now, you only said this. Vedam is doing exactly this. It's making him sign a contract saying, you have to come when I'm in difficulty. Parameshwara will say, what are the terms and conditions of this contract? Terms and conditions are very simple. You yourself once said that if somebody comes to me and says just once that they are my person, that they belong to me, I will protect them. Don't worry about any time, past, present or future. This idea Rama echoes in the Ramayana when Vibhishana comes. Vibhishana has come asking for Sharanagati. What does Rama say? Sakradeva prapannaya tavasmiti cha yachate. If somebody says, Rama, I am your person, can we introduce? This is the idea that time shows us. Can I introduce myself to anybody? Who are you? I am a Rama Bhakta. I am Rama's person. Sakradeva prapannaya tavasmiti cha yachate abhayam sarvabhutebhyo dadhamyetat pratam mama. If somebody says this once, that they are my person, I am duty bound to give them abhayam. So Vedam knows this and it's saying, this Markandeya knew exactly this. So he said, now I am your person. So therefore Shiva is duty bound. So this entire system of time, which can appear like a trap that holds us, if you want to release from this system, stop looking at the system. Most of us look at time just as a tool to obtain what we want. Oh, this Varsha, will my daughter get married? This Varsha, will I get a promotion? This Varsha, what else is good for me? We want Rashi Phalas. We don't want to look at time as a container to experience something else. All the examples, be it Savitri, be it Sita, be it Markandeya, all of them are examples of people who looked beyond two things. One is time, second is desire. There is no desire in any of them for a certain result. The journey is the desire. If you give up the desire and you give up any fear of time, then you already have him with you. This is what Ravana also knew, interestingly. Because when Ravana sings Shiva's praises, he says, Smarantakam Purantakam. He starts in one of the verses of the Shiva Tandava Stotram, Smarantakam. Smara Antaka. Antaka means the one who killed. Smara is the name of Kamadeva. We all know the well-known story of how Shiva consumes Kama, how he burns him down to ashes. Smarantakam is the first name, if you pay attention to this. Smarantakam, Purantakam, Makhantakam, Gajantakantakantakam, Tam Antakantakam Bhaje. Antaka is Yama. So the first name is Kama, the last name is Yama. So the one who removes Kama and Kala, both of them have absolutely no power in front of him. So go beyond this. Don't be fearful. Don't be worried about what's going to happen here. Whatever your karmas are, if your prarabdha is strong, it was strong in the case of Savitri. Her prarabdha was strong. It came and attacked her. But she had the resilience to stand up to it, not get feared by it. Same thing with Markandeya, same thing with Sita. When you hold on to that idea, you get a release from Kala Chakram. When you find that release, you go into a space with Mahakala from where there is no return. And that idea is not something that is far, far away in the Puranas. That is the idea of time. Because time gives you some beautiful moments to do this. Take the time we are in. It is Shanivaram. It is Pradosha Kalam. Pradosha Kalam on Shanivaram is especially sacred for Shiva, and on that day we had the Bhagyam right now of doing Shiva Radhana through our Shrotam and through our Vacham. So when he gives you time as an opportunity, use it. Forget that I'm doing it for this purpose. Many people will record instances of how they use time for a certain thing. Let's say I'm doing Vishnu Sahasranamam for 40 days because somebody I know love is unwell. Nothing wrong with that. But in the process of that 40 days, fall in love with Vishnu. Whatever that person is meant to get, if your objective is good health for that person, they will get it. But don't wait for the 40th day and say, I'm done. Use that, but use it as a launch pad to experience something greater. Because time holds that, whether it is Parvadinas. Look at the idea of how our festivals communicate that. Some festivals are talking about time. They're giving you specifics, be it Janmashtami, be it Vinayak Chaturthi. They're giving you ideas of how powerful time is. But some are telling you time is the best tool to do sadhana. There is one festival, there are a couple like this, but there is one interesting festival which does not have a tithi, but still we celebrate it. Any guesses? Year after year. In this state, to Pakka we celebrate it. In Andhra Pradesh also we celebrate it. In parts of Tamil Nadu we celebrate it. Sorry? Sankranti, yes, but as Anna said, there is a certain system to the. Here also there is a system, but this Sankranti I would contest because it's celebrated across the country. This is predominantly a South Indian festival in 3 major states of the South. It does not have a tithi. You can never say this will come on this tithi. My God, next time, simply, if there are so many quiz questions, Vinay. Think about it. It comes in the second half of the year, in Dakshinayinam. It's one of the most well-known festivals in Dakshinayinam. Varalakshmi Vrata. What's the tithi for Varalakshmi Vrata? How do you determine when it is Varalakshmi Vrata? Friday before Purnima. Or Friday or Thursday evening when everybody else puts it on Instagram saying I'm getting ready, then I know that it's Varalakshmi Vratam tomorrow. It is not giving you a tithi. A system that is otherwise placing so much importance, saying Ashtami has to be there at this time for it to be called Janmashtami, Chaturdashi has to be there at this time for it to be called Shivaratri, is suddenly saying tithi is not important. Whichever Friday is coming Shukravara, Shravana Paurnami, Purvasta Shukravare. That is all the idea is. Who performed this Varalakshmi Vrata for the first time? Charumati. Look at something beautiful here, showing you what and how powerful time is. Charumati. Mati is intellect. Charumati is described in the Puranas, in the Skanda Purana, as a woman who is greatly absorbed in her dharma. To her, Jagannatha appears and says, worship me, and she gives these coordinates, saying, worship me on this day. What does Charumati do? She immediately tells everybody else that the goddess came to me and she said this to me. The goddess is not there. Listen. So, when she says this, immediately, Charumati shares this with everybody. She could have kept that information to herself, but she chose to share it. And what happens when they all perform the Varalakshmi Vratam together? At the end of it, they all find themselves bedecked in gold. But what of Charumati? Charumati attains moksha. Why? The rahasyam is in the time. Purnima is the time. Purnima or Purna Chandra is representative of the Sahasrara Chakram within the human body. The Sahasrara Chakram, which blooms, is showcased in time as the full moon. So full moon is a time for great sadhana. What happens to a yoga sadhaka as full moon approaches, or as they are about to reach their own Purna Chandra? They move through these various chakras within the body. Shukravaram. Shukra is the color. What color does Shukra connect to? White. White is the color given to the Ajna Chakram. So to somebody who worships with devotion and is about to recognize and find divinity within themselves, to those people who concentrate and focus their energies at that Ajna Chakra Sthanam, to such a being, a descent of Amritam is imminent. That idea is represented by saying, on the Friday before the full moon, worship me with your heart and you will find release. Varalakshmi Vratam is not a Vratam just that you do in order to get kgs and kgs of gold into your bank locker. It is a Vratam that is showing you a release. Each festival has its significance. Understand this aspect of time that, oh, so this time is powerful. There, the Tithi is not important. It could be Chaturdashi, it could be Navami, it could be anything. There, use that time and you will find release. There are tons of people who have used Varalakshmi Vratam as a yoga sadhana, not the kind that is for Instagram display. And if you actually try any festival like that, it will give you a release. It will give you an opportunity to go beyond. But the only way you can do any of that is by respecting that. If you do not understand it, there are tons of systems around that are helping us understand it. Parvadarshini is one such. Find out, take that respect. It is not feasible also. If you look at our Panchangam, it is impossible practically to celebrate every single festival, because one day marks something in one area, another day marks something else. But that's because time is like a container and somebody had a powerful experience in that particular time. If you take a little bit of camphor and put it on my hand and then remove it, for a while that scent will persist. That is kalam. That somebody did this on that particular day, so you do it now. Charumati did it on that day, you do it now. The Pandavas did it on that day, you do it now. You do it and you quickly find a release. That idea and more is contained within the Samvatsara Chakram. And as we recognize that Kala is in his control, my wish and hope is that in the coming year onwards, our attitude towards time changes, where we don't fear time and we don't say things like, Yalla chanagide, but time chanagilla. Even if time is not on your side, as long as Mahakala or Mahakali is on your side, you know that you have no reason to be fearful of whatever time throws at you. So as we welcome Vasanta in the days to come, may that idea of Kala lead us to sadhana, as Anna put it so beautifully, so that we recognize that all the journey is just to go from here till here. With that, offering this to the Pada Padmas of Pradoshamurti, and massive gratitude to Neil Anna and to Charoka and to Coolcher, to believing that I'm cool enough to sit here and to spend this evening with you. And thank you for being such a lovely and attentive audience. I must admit, I was very nervous to speak in front of Vishwanath Anna, and I cannot thank you all for such a memorable Shani Trayodashi and such a memorable Pradosha Kalam. Swasti.
Wow, thank you so much, Vinay. A big round of applause for all the artists. And we loved how beautifully you connected the Sankalpam to time and to Kala, and telling us such wonderful stories and keeping an entire room full of people with rapt attention. Thank you so much.
With camera person Sanjay Ponappa, this is Maruti Acharya for India Today SoSouth.